I think about sex, I would say probably most of my waking moment, women become objects of gratification. So that created in me a desire to have extramarital affair.
For a long time, Teh Hsin was addicted to pornography. It took over his life and eventually cost him his marriage. On this episode of Can Ask Me, he shares how it started as a form of escape and how he eventually overcame his addiction.
Did you watch pornography all the time? Most addicted will be multiple times a day. The cycle of pornography is not just watching pornography, it is seeking for sexual gratification. The goal is to end up masturbating. I think about sex, I would say probably most of my waking moment. So it affected me in my view for women. I couldn't relate to women simply as a human being. For instance, if there's any activities going on and if it's a all man's activity, I have no interest. And then even simple things like getting a haircut, to me it's a time to be touched by a woman barber. So yeah, just women become objects of gratification. My first exposure, I was probably about 14 or 15 years old. So, but when I was 14 or 15, I have a neighbor boy, was same age as me, across the street. So one day he said, "Yeah, you come, Teh Hsin, you come, I want to show you something." And then he opened it, it's full of Playboy magazines. It was electrifying. The first time I see naked women, from top to bottom. Yeah, so it's like something happened in my brain, like, wow, you know, so from that day on, I crave for more. Back then, I didn't think it's addiction. Back then, my friends were saying it's normal. Some of the older boys in the secondary school even asked each one of us, have you seen pornography? Have you masturbated? The feeling is good. So the body craves for more. Gradually, I discovered there were deeper reasons. When I was growing up, I was a sickly boy since I was young. So because I was so skinny, I'm quite ashamed to expose my body, even going to a swimming pool. Wearing swimming trunk, upper body is exposed. Everybody can see my ribs and how skinny I am. I have no muscles, and I felt a lot of shame. So the thought of actually undressing myself in front of a woman was quite terrifying, actually. When I see myself in the mirror, I think that, oh, okay, cannot make it. What if she laughs at me? Right? What if she runs away? That would be horrible. So those thoughts were quite scary to me. Yeah, but in pornography, none of that exists. Pornography, I can find any woman, any image, anyone whom I think would have nothing to do with me. I can have something to do with her in my mind. Did you feel like your marriage wasn't enough? Yes. Before I got married, I had the idea that my craving for sex would be completely solved once I get married. Because we get married, have a wife, we can have sex all the time, and then this issue would be gone. One of the things about pornography is that you can see many images successfully. But married with one woman, having sex with the same woman day after day is not the same. Sex is supposed to be reserved for someone that I truly love and someone who truly loves me. It's a moment of intimacy, it's a kind of connection, but pornography is completely against that. It's about my joy, my happiness, what I want. Has nothing to do with the need of the woman whom I'm supposed to love. So that created in me a desire to have extramarital affair. In hindsight, I lost all those years of intimacy I could have with my ex-wife. This is my ex-wife, okay? Because that marriage eventually broke down. So I went into internet chat rooms to find women. Eventually, the conversation would move to gradually more sexual. So she eventually found out, okay? And she found out who I was having an affair with. And that time, she was still willing to forgive me. We still went for marriage counseling. But my heart wasn't really wanting to reconcile, because I felt like I want the freedom to meet other women, have sex with them. I felt like this ring on my finger was a chain on my neck. It denied me of the freedom and the life that I wanted to have. We had many fights. It was quite exhausting. And then eventually she decided that we couldn't go on like this anymore. Yeah, so that was the most painful moment because my wife broke the news to them. Mommy and Daddy are going to be divorced. So, actually at that moment, when my wife announced it to my kids, I felt no sadness like I'm feeling now. I felt relieved. But both of my kids cried. They were just sobbing in the car. They couldn't believe it. Only in hindsight, when I try to rewind myself back to that day, stepping into the shoes of my children, did I realize how much I hurt them, how much I hurt my wife. I have become a man whom I never want my son to become, a man whom I never want my daughter to marry. I did not protect them. In my selfish pursuit of my gratification, I put them in harm's way and be the one who dismantled the whole family. Do you still watch pornography? No, I have. It's not something I want to do anymore. Because it has not done anything good for me. So I don't want it. But that doesn't mean that I am not vulnerable to it. Okay, there were times when I was lonely or bored. And so during that time, I indulged in pornography. But because it's not something I want, I would try to pick myself up and try to wean myself from it again. I had to recognize that what I was doing was wrong. Because of the message from my male friends, from secondary school until adult life, even my male colleagues, would say that there's nothing wrong. Even having a little bit of marital affair, there's nothing wrong. One of my friends says, he told me that as long as it's not on his wife's time, it is fine. So it wasn't until about a year later when I went on a business trip to US. So I turned on the TV in my hotel room. So I chanced upon a channel of a pastor preaching. She was talking about fasting. And she said fasting is not just not only about food. So that struck me. Then I thought, okay, maybe I can fast from pornography. If you asked me at that time to, Teh Hsin, give up pornography for the rest of your life, I would immediately say, no way, get out of here. Don't talk to me. But the idea of fasting for a period of 30 to 40 days, I thought, yeah, maybe this is doable. It's not the rest of my life, okay? And I suddenly had this conviction in my heart. Okay, I want to do this. So that night, I didn't masturbate. And the next night, usually hotel room quite vulnerable, I decided that I would read this book. I brought along several books. I think that whole week, I read different books. And sometimes I would spend more time out with my colleagues so that I don't come back to the hotel room so early so I have so much time. So I survived the whole week. And that was the beginning. So then I completed a 40-day fast. I couldn't believe it. I felt a sense of freedom I've never felt before. Because previously I'm thinking about sex all the time, right? And now my mind is free. I can think about other things. I can think about more meaningful things. Then I begin to think about what harm I have done to my first marriage. What did my kids feel? What did my ex-wife feel? Because I never thought about that. Earlier on, I blamed her. I blamed her because she's too busy. And I used to blame her that she didn't watch her weight. She wasn't attractive. All those were excuses. My own seeking for sexual gratification resulted in extramarital affair that destroyed the marriage. I could not blame her. So I asked for forgiveness. I wrote my ex-wife a letter, and then I invited her out for lunch, admitting my wrong. And same thing with both of my kids. I told them that it's not mommy's fault. It's my fault. I know that my children have every right to not want to have a relationship with me anymore because I am the one who caused them that pain. I don't deserve it, but yet they give to me. My daughter, last Sunday was my birthday. So my daughter in US, so she ordered a birthday cake, ordered some ice cream, and delivered to me. So she went through all of that just because she remembers my birthday. Yeah. So I am very grateful that they still found room to maintain this relationship. My current wife is very supportive. She knows everything I told you, plus a lot more. We became friends. She was the one who brought me to church. I became a Christian. I became a pastor. Unthinkable, actually. And so well, we were dating for a while, but I felt that I should not marry her, as long as I still have this addiction to pornography, because I didn't want to hurt her. Have you ever felt undeserving to be a pastor? Yes, very much so. This is, in many ways, a very shameful past. that in many ways maybe it's better off not to talk about it, not to let anyone know about it. The first time I shared my church, I felt very, very uncomfortable. It was during one of our church camps before I became a pastor. Yeah, so our pastor was preaching about lust, okay, the power of lust, the destructive power of lust. And so the next day, the final day of the church camp, he asked people to give testimony. So I shared that testimony of fasting. I felt funny because right after that was lunch break. We went to buffet line, we get our food. A few people came and thanked me for sharing that. Then the rest of them, I didn't know what they were thinking. Maybe a few weeks later, she asked me if I'm willing to share for the male leaders in our church. And so I shared. So after that, a few guys decided okay, we need this. Why not we start a men's ministry where men can actually come to talk about our struggles? So that was the beginning of men's ministry. So that men's ministry is still running today. I think the first step of turning around is simply admitting my own fault. So opening up about my shameful past may cause people to not respect me. And I think that is fine, because I don't need people to respect me. I want people to know the truth. I want to learn so that I can learn and mature and grow as a man. My younger girl, who's 11, when we're walking to a shopping mall, if there are women model in bikini, like underwear store, then she will block my eyes. Papa, cannot look. It's kind of funny. Pornography affects many men. I think it will be helpful to find a community, a group of other men who are wanting to fight back against pornography addiction. You can encourage each other and can walk towards freedom. I cannot imagine if I was still on the same path of indulging in pornography. I would be a dirty old man. Probably I would have ruined my relationship with my children.
So do you like who you are now a lot more?
Infinitely more, yes.